Good Friday afternoon, evening, wherever you may be. Victor is in an undisclosed place that
Yes,
always
I
happens
am.
in August,
Exactly. Sometimes in July as well. Sometimes on weekends as well. And that includes Fridays.
which is the weekend. Hi, by the way. My name is
Exactly.
Darren. This is over here. It's Victor, and we are the host of a podcast called DevOps Paradox that arrives in your podcast player on Wednesdays at 6 a.m. Eastern, more or less. And on Fridays, when we're around, we do the show. Now, today's show may be, how can we put it? It's summer, and it's getting towards
Summer.
the end of summer.
Yeah. It's summer and I'm on undisclosed location where I have other shirts that I don't wear when I'm in other locations. So you see things like those you haven't seen for a long time.
Yeah, Victor shirt is a secret message. No, I think it's just the
Just that I'm not buying clothes. That's the that's the message.
exactly. Again, thanks for being here, Karen. Good to see you as well. What do we talk about this week?
I don't know. Summer? Heat wave?
Heat wave. It hasn't been that bad. It was actually not too bad here yesterday. It was only 75 or 80, which is
I have no idea
Odd.
what it is.
I don't know, 25 to 30.
Warm.
Yeah.
25.
It's-
That's cool. That's autumn.
That's what I'm saying. It felt like autumn for about a day, and that was it. There's no news. That's what I'm trying to get to. Is there's practically no news this week. Everybody's on vacation. I mean,
Exactly.
August 1st arrived, or actually July 31st arrived, and everybody disappeared.
And here's the trick. Those that are not on vacation are using this time not to announce new things, but to catch up with all the things that they couldn't do while during normal months.
So I did find, or somebody had posted in a Slack, and I pulled it out. We'll talk about it. It's a tweet storm about remote work, which I thought was interesting, and Scrum.
What's the gist of
specifically.
it?
Scrum, why you never use Scrum with remote workers.
Sounds silly.
We'll see. Let's get into the show here. And today may be a little bit short, just because. Rats. There we go. So this week's episode was with the guys from Fatih and Kursat from Ddosify, talking about their offering that they're working on right now. Interesting conversation. Very early stage. We'll put it that way.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Ddosify actually exists for a while, but
True.
the company behind it is in early stage.
So take a listen to it. We won't get into the details here. You can listen to it. It was episode 222, as it says on the screen. So you can go to most people don't know this. There's actually a trick. Did you know there's a trick, Victor?
There is always a trick.
There's a trick. So any of our episode numbers are just the slash. So you can say DevOpsParadox.com/222, and it'll take you right to whatever that episode is.
Easy.
Automatically there. So you don't have to try to remember the name, because I couldn't even say it. Even if I wanted to say it, I can't physically see it, even with my glasses on. It's so small. So finding performance bottlenecks with Ddosify. So that was this week's episode. Again, Sundays, good grief. Wednesdays at 6 a.m. Eastern. Okay, here's this Twitter thread. Why I don't use Scrum in my remote teams. It adds at least 8 hours of meetings per sprint. That's 2 full days of time wasted. So
here's the question. Why is those 8 hours of meetings non-existent when people are not remote?
that was the math that was running through my head, too.
I mean, 8 hours is a lot. So, yeah, kudos
So-
to you. Remove it.
So here it is. Here's the normal Scrum meetings in the teams. 2 hours for grooming, an hour and a half for sprint planning, 2.5 hours for stand-ups. So he's running a 2-week sprint. And 2 hours for retrospective. So 8 hours of meetings. That's a full day every 2 weeks.
It's interesting, the second part. Those 8 hours of meetings got extended every sprint because those scheduled meetings overrun. I mean, scheduled meetings overrun no matter whether it's remote or in person. I still don't see the difference. And proverbial, like, let's take this one offline is equivalent to let's talk about this one by the coffee machine.
Don't disagree.
No. Now, what is quite possible in that case is that the company is now remote and it's not used to be remote. We were all in the office and now COVID hit and we all went remote and we don't know how to work remote. And if that's the case, that's equivalent to Agile does not work after a couple of months or a couple of years of being waterfall. Yeah, very likely you're not there yet. I'm going to fight for remote till my death.
I agree. Martin, I'm sorry if I messed that up. Thanks for being here. But the guy here, I started seeing red flags in Scrum when I started implementing async processes in my team. What does async have to do with Scrum?
Again, nothing. And what does it have to do with, I hired people in different time zones. Hey, if time zones are a problem, they're equally a problem whether it's remote or in 5 offices across the globe.
Next one. Since I've stopped using Scrum, since then I've stopped using Scrum. It was my first step to reduce meetings in my teams.
Now I'm applauding. Scrum is silly, but okay. But nothing to do with remote work.
Right. Okay. Another thing I don't like about Scrum is how it forces all projects features into a 2-week framework.
Nothing to do with remote, still.
Nope.
Sergio, you look like a cool guy, but you missed it there.
Blah, 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 blah. Okay. Why? Blah, blah, blah. Okay. And he's put these into a Notion template, of course. We can only define the what after we understand the why.
True.
I disagree. You can definitely define the what. It just may not align with the why.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you can define it. It
Right.
makes sense. It starts making sense once you understand why you're doing it. But yeah, you can define it.
It's
True.
the same thing as me sitting down and writing my application without writing tests first or having a requirements document. I don't have to have a fully fleshed out requirements document to start coding. I need to have an idea, but
Now,
that's all I need.
here's the thing. Yes, you might need to understand one way or another why first. But what can you might figure out what from the first attempt. It might take you 17 iterations to figure out what and everything that comes afterwards. And all that insistence of figuring out what and what's or not, that smells not being agile in the first place.
Okay. Let's see. Does he resolve himself out of this at all? Let me see. Let me get down here. Okay. This is how I shift away from a heavy meeting culture led by Scrum to an async first workflow. It's remote, right? Async. Everything's async.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. It seems like a very valid critique on Scrum, not on remote work.
Correct. Remote work. He actually has a remote. His domain is remote-work.io, so he's on to remote work. There's also a digital course. Of course there is. And then people started dumping it into unrollers since it was a long thread. I think the points that he makes are, I hesitate to use the word valid.
I think that there is a issue with Scrum or any other prescriptions is that they're good when they work and then people don't ditch them when they don't. The whole point about Agile is being able to adapt. And adapt, among other things, means that, hey, now it makes sense to have meetings and now it doesn't. Not to follow hey, we need to have a meeting every Monday because Scrum says so. That's quite the opposite of what Agile is trying to do. It's all about adapting.
I would even say Agile is dead too.
Agile, it's simply there now. We got used to it. We got used to some good things about it, and once something is ever present, you don't necessarily need even to call it by the name. It's simply there.
Okay, so I'll put a link to this thread. You'll need to be logged into Twitter or X or whatever it's called this week to be able to see it. That's the
You
confusing
put
part.
this X, you mean, into the description.
It's
Not a tweet anymore.
but it's still on Twitter.com.
Yeah, because redirection is still not operational, but yeah.
And I am not going to type in x.com because I don't want to know what that is, especially live. It's probably
There are actually countries that banned X not because of X, but because in some countries that's registered as a porn domain and things like that.
I used to work, it was a consulting gig, and in the domain, if you were to spell it all out, because of how the words they picked, the word sex was actually in there. Like the end of the word ended with business, and the first part of the next word was extra. So the S and EX was, and it got dumped by a lot of people because it was just blocked, just a hard block on those. But
now, if Twitter continues expanding and we get short messages like we have right now, and we get videos, and we get audios, so there will be 3 X's there. Will it be renamed into xxx.com? If it continues expanding?
that's going to be one of the clips for next week. I'm just going to go ahead and post that. And we'll see if we get any. I mean, it's valid. Not really, but okay. Let's see if we can answer.
That could be expensive domain to buy, though.
Yeah. Well, if Mr. Musk buys it, it probably wouldn't be that big of a deal. I built something that automates infrastructure deployment using Terraform, using GitHub Actions, and cluster management using Argo CD and a lot more tools. Can I call it an IDP? You can call anything an IDP today, right?
If it enables people to self-serve themselves,
It's an IDP.
it's an IDP.
Yep. The key part there is self-serve.
Whether it's a good one or not, that's a very lengthy discussion. But if it's enabling self-serve, it's IDP. Whether if their people are happy with it, then it's a good one even.
Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if they're happy or not. If it can self-serve, it's an IDP. If they're happy, then it is a successful IDP.
You mean kind of, yeah, exactly. So
An acceptable IDP.
one thing is what it is, and the other thing is whether it's used.
Yeah.
Willingly.
Right. Speaking of using willingly, I told you it was short this week. We're already to the videos. What's up with Teller? When I first saw this, I was thinking Tiller. It's like, no, wait, what? Tiller rebranded itself? No, it's Teller.
It's a cool little tool that I really, really like, and I use it now extensively. It allows you to specify how to fetch secrets and to fetch secrets from anywhere that is client-side. Really
Did
cool
we
tool. I really
talk
like.
about this before? Was this on?
I don't think so.
Can I safely search for it? Teller secrets?
Yeah, okay.
That should be safe, right? That should be safe.
Yeah.
That one. Oh.
Yeah.
Maybe we did.
Maybe we mentioned it. You mean like
Yeah.
in Friday?
Yeah,
that's
just
quite
as a
possible.
news item.
That's possible, yeah.
Huh. I'd forgotten about this. Now that I see this animation, it looks familiar. That's the reason why I'm integrating
We
with.
explored, I think, last week something very similar. And maybe Teller before that, but we had a similar project last
Like for
week or
me,
week before last.
looking at this list, which is great. I mean, this is more enterprisey level. Like I would expect to see something like 1Password here or Bitwarden.
It's there. There is 1Password as well.
Oh, it is.
Or
Oh,
at
it's just
least
not.
LastPass for sure. This is just a section, a part of the list that you saw down.
Okay, so if we look at
If you go to the docs
oh, I'm sorry.
somewhere,
Okay. Number one rule: docs should always be at the top.
yeah, try it at the top. I don't know, getting started or something. I don't remember anymore.
Download.
Or
This means
probably
install.
GitHub. It could be GitHub only.
It's probably GitHub.
I
We'll
don't
see.
remember.
Blah 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 blah. Hopefully nobody's getting motion sick right now.
It's somewhere. I think that I saw LastPass, something like that.
1Password. There we go.
There we
Okay.
go.
Oh,
Yeah.
you have to use opt tokens. That's still fine.
I mean, you need to authenticate somehow to that something.
Yeah. Well, I'm talking about the. Yeah, it's fine. That's not a big deal. But you said LastPass, which I'm off of now. Finally. Oh, actually, it's not on here. LastPass is. Oh wait, there it is. Because I can't use last. Yeah, there's LastPassword. This is the reason why I don't want to use LastPassword anymore or LastPass anymore. That's a little too. They have other issues there. Okay. Teller. All right. Good. I actually put this on my list of things to do for next week because I'm looking for things to do for next week.
The important thing is really that this is not replacing your, secrets managers in Kubernetes clusters or wherever you're running. This is just while you're working, right? How do I get authentication to that database that is stored somewhere and I don't know where that is? And can I store the reference to that something in a Git repository in a safe way so that I can just invoke it whenever I need it? That's a cool part.
Yeah, because so what if you see where Teller or tools like Teller come into play is you've been all in on provider X, then your CTO gets fired and a new one gets hired, and now you're headed towards provider Y.
Yeah. And even if you stay with a single provider, right? Like, for example, I have, just for personal use, I'm not jumping now into what I do within a company. I have hundreds of secrets stored, in my case, in Google Cloud, right? And it's nice to have teller.yaml. Here is the references. This secret and that secret become those environment variables. Go.
And that way it's just consistent. You don't have to think about
Yeah,
how
I'm
do
just
I do it for Google. It's like just use Teller and let Teller do that lift.
If you look at the repo of the videos that I'm making after the Teller one, you will see that there is teller.yaml everywhere.
Interesting. Okay. Shouldn't we strive for more of an identity-based and void shuffling? Yes. Like OIDC.
Yes,
That's-
but that does not work always, right? Hey, and right now I'm working on a tool X. I'm not going to name it. I need API token to use that tool. I need to create a token, which is fine, and then I don't want to create it every single time I use it. I need to store it somewhere. I store it, in my case, in Google Secret Manager, and then Teller that points to it. That's it.
Yeah, I agree though. And then you were back with Whitney this week on implementing ingresses.
Yes, that's the second to last episode in this season.
Oh, it's going to be a short one.
Very, very short one, yes.
Okay.
Because again, we are building production, but in reality, we are setting the stage for production, the bare minimum, and then there will be a whole nightmare about season dedicated to secrets, then to observability, and so on and so forth. Because everything else is production, essentially.
Right. Now you get into day 2, is what you're saying. This is day 1.
Yes. Here's a cluster. Here's Argo CD, or Flux, or Kub controller. We need an ingress. So Kubernetes ingress GitOps, and that's it.
That's your hello world, right? That's
Yeah.
that. Gets you to
Assuming
point.
that you did the things before, like, hey, I decided to do templating with YTT or with Helm, right? So there are some things that you need as well, but once you have them, mostly how you define your application, I'm guessing.
Okay. Anything else? You might have any questions?
Me?
You have a
Oh,
question?
them.
Or them?
The one on the other side, huh? Yeah, if you have any questions, type them up. And I don't have any questions. I'm questionless.
You're questionless. We also have to, well, we don't have to delay that much. We're only about 5 seconds behind here. It's summertime. Everybody's off.
Summertime, yes.
Well, but it's wintertime too. But those people
Somewhere else.
They're asleep right now. Where it's
Yeah, it's just that the parts of the world where it's winter right now, normally their winters are better than our winters.
Here we go from Neil. What's your favorite ingress controller?
I prefer traffic.
Why?
I was afraid of that question. I don't have any special reason, to be honest.
You just prefer it.
Yeah, I just prefer it.
It's sort of like me and Caddy right now for a web server, because I can do things simply with it. And that's sort of the traffic model as well.
Exactly. It's available in quite a few Kubernetes clusters by default now. It's easy to install. I mean, it's not that others are not easy. It's just that I don't have a good reason, to be honest. It's just, hey, they all do the same thing. Here's a request, forward it over there, right? Not now, of course, there are differences, but those differences are usually related to performance, right? And that are visible when we get to really large scale.
Which is not usually where you're at.
No, not today.
What's this one? What's your favorite CNI?
Cilium,
That was fast.
easy.
Okay. Is that it? Anybody else have any other questions?
I'm guessing that's it.
I'll wait for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Nope. That's it. We'll call
That's
it
it?
call it a week.
See you next week.
We should be here next
there
week,
is
right?
Yeah.
Wait. We'll let this be the last one, because I actually have to get back in. What I think is going to be the next thing that can replace all the containerization? Nothing's going to replace containerization. You know why? Because containerization has been around forever.
I don't see anything on the horizon, to be honest. There is the only thing that can be observed as a replacement for containerization, or whatever it's pronounced, would be WASM, but I don't see WASM even close, right? Because we're not talking about replacing containers with something else. We are talking about replacing containers and the ecosystem. And the ecosystem around containers with something else. And WASM is years, if not longer, away from having even a fraction of the ecosystem we have around containers. And what will replace Kubernetes? Nothing will replace Kubernetes in at least next 10 years. You will see it less and less. It will be abstracted, but I don't think it will be replaced anytime soon. Not because I don't want it to be replaced, but because there is nothing on the horizon. Nothing. For containers, at least there is WASM on the horizon. For Kubernetes, nothing.
It's just the operating system now.
Yeah.
Right?
It would be the same. I think it will be this. In the future, it will be equally valid question if you say, what will replace hypervisors? I don't know. I don't care anymore. Who cares about hypervisors? Do you care about hypervisors, Darin? You probably don't.
No.
When was the last time you touched it?
Never.
10 years?
Yeah.
15? Never? There you go.
WASM is Flash reimagined. Well, it can be. And not
Yeah.
replacement, more of a fusion of containers and VMs could be a wider that, like Firecracker. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just not convinced that on a wide scale,
Wide scale, probably not.
we will
use
go
cases for
to
it.
containers. Yes.
Yeah.
And of course, There are many. There are probably more use cases for lightweight VMs than for containers. Given that we have unknown amount of years of history behind containers, right? So yes, there is a great use case for VMs in some form or another, but not as a replacement for containers.
Okay. Let's go and wrap it up. Thanks for being here with us live. I was told never to apologize for being short, but I'm going to apologize for being short today, just because.
You're not a short person.
No, I'm not. Actually, I am. I had to go for a physical today. I have a commercial.
Shrink?
I shrunk.
That comes with age.
It does. It comes with age. I just don't expect that to be happening yet, but it did.
What, like next month?
I shrunk. No, it was 2 weeks ago.
No, I meant if you don't expect it yet, do you expect it in a month?
I was expecting it probably based on how my dad was. He was about 60, and I'm close to that. So probably I should have thought about it. But yeah. Oh well. I only shrunk an inch, so it's not that big of a deal. All I have to do is go stretch out, and I'll have that inch back, I think. That's all. Go get it on an inversion table and hang upside down.
Every day by the, yeah.
Just let gravity go the other direction. Okay. Anyway, different conversation for a different day. All right. Thanks everybody for being here live, and we will talk to you again next week.